Hi all, I have another amazing game by David Graven to show you today. So this is the usual fast and furious time control, 40 moves per 2 minutes with a 2-second increment per move. Fire at 7.1 playing white against Leela. So the opening book given, we go into this territory in the King's Pawn game with d3. Quite often knight g5 is played here, hitting f7, and there's a standard gambit which is thought to at least be dynamically equal. So that's interesting. But d3 is a bit stodgier. We have bishop c5, knight c3, d6, and white does have the option of going for this dark square bishop. There's no escape pigeonhole for the bishop here. So bishop actually does drop back though, to be able to take a takes, maybe activate this rook. But white delays taking that, c3, black castles. Quite often also this has been seen in a handful at least of over the board games, bishop e6, wanting some f-file pressure. But Leela's not interested in that. Castling, b4, knight e7. This is the preferred plan, to go for knight g6, bishop g5, knight g6, white castles, h6, and the bishop drops back. Job done in a way to provoke a weakness, but bishop g4 now, with the huge threat of knight h4. So this is much more effective than usual, because this bishop's here. It's difficult to kind of parry this. So h3 to kick this bishop. Just an example of devastation. Rook b1, knight h4, and this is basically lost for white after queen d7, for queen h3. This is just bishop takes f2 there if the rook moves. And if rook doesn't, if knight takes, try and avoid that, then queen h3 anyway, inserting that threatening mate. And here, inserting knight takes f3, threatening mate, and then taking on b6. Big advantage to black. So we have h3 to try and do something about this knight h4 business. Bishop h5, not minding g4. It's too dangerous to allow the knight sack here. This scenario is reintroducing knight h4. It's just unplayable to play that. But maybe at some point it might be more tempting. White takes off this bishop and queen e2. So the queen hangs around, because otherwise there'll be a structural damage. The queen's got to be able to recapture on f3, not the pawn. If g4 here, by the way, knight takes, if we just examine this for sure with d4, with the idea of bishop e2, this is still very good disposition. This scenario, this is a variation. Rook a3, because this introduces ideas of takes and putting pressure on f3 from a3, believe it or not. So like this, e takes is very dangerous. Bang. And given that, yeah, it's very tricky here. On rook e1, that's basically losing. But if we play something else like knight e1 here, even so, this is just very, very strong for black, this position. If we look at this, this is just an example, fictional continuation. But you can see that there's a lot of pawns for the piece, and white's in big trouble here. So anyway, let's go back to the main variation of the game. So queen e2 was played, not indulging any of that stuff. Queen d7. We have actually queen e3 unpinning. On a4 here, knight h4, this position, bang, and immediately f3 can be taken, or even better, checkmate. Actually, the knight's holding 2 squares, supporting 2 squares, so checkmate. So we have queen e3, rook fe8, bishop b3, and Leela just casually plays for d5, putting more pressure on the center. E takes, and now the queen is kept on d7 to keep an eye on g4 here, and just rook ad8 actually is played. White tries to cling on actually for a moment. c6 now. Now we have bishop c3. Well, it wasn't just a cling on move, it was to support bishop c3 to be fair. But bishop c3 here. On d takes, this is really giving black a load of pressure here after b takes. Black's actually slightly better there. That's just not very nice. So bishop c3. And we have queen f5. Now, knight h2. And it looks as though g4 really is on the cards here. On d takes, then, yeah, d3 is an issue. Rook takes, and then bang, bishop takes. End of game, really. It'll be checkmating. So knight h2 seems sensible to try and embarrass these pieces tactically. But what does Leela play here? You wonder. If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, what would you play here? Okay, knight f4. Leela doesn't care about this g4. g4 is played. Bishop takes, h takes, and now knight takes, queen f3. And here is another nice move. And get ready with your Instagram accounts. David Grosvenor likes this position. Black to play. Okay, rook d6. Yeah, rook left here is possible. That's the only rook actually to be able to lift, but it's good enough for rook g6. If queen takes, then rook g6. So yeah, if you want to Instagram this position, look at the knights. Impressive. Look at the bishops here. This is a really impressive attack brewing up over here. So hash Kingscrusher, hash Leela Chess. The usual tags. Thanks very much if you want to Instagram this position. So here, knight takes g4 is played. On queen takes, yeah, just to put that on the board. Rook g6. There's no backfire here, as you might expect. Yeah. So rook g6 here, and black at least gets back the piece, but with interest now after hg. We have bishop d2, queen h5, and there's immediate concern about rook h6 now, which is very dangerous. So queen h2, trying to put brakes on that. Check. And now queen f5, looking at d3, among other things. White comes back to protect that. Queen f5 here, now threatening a discovered check, so that queen goes in the way here. We have now a key move, f5. This is really nice, f5. And very difficult, I guess, for normal rangers to kind of calculate this attacking stuff, how it's brewing here. But basically it's brews in private after f5. Some privacy notice is put up here. Because f4 means rook h6 is on the way. This is the whole idea. Shield h6 and then to double and then nasty stuff after that. Maybe move the queen away and then threaten to win the queen. So we have d takes. White just basically allows this, just takes a pawn there, f4. And is greedy, takes another one. Yes, to be fair, maybe fire isn't the best at this time control. A bit on the greedy side. Rook h6. So Leela's getting her naughty ways here after rook h6. We have c5. And in fact, you'll notice now, this move not only threatens to win the queen with a knight move, say to g5 rather than taking a. You don't want to give up too many pieces of the queen. But there's also queen c6 on the cards here across that lovely diagonal. And white gets really desperate. White realises, hold on a sec, this is totally lost, isn't it? It's totally lost. And plays bishop takes g4. If c takes b6, just carrying on greedy ways, let's have a look at this. Check. Knight g5 winning the queen at the very least. But it's even more brutal. g3 is even more sadistic to win loads of material after winning the queen. So this could be a cruel continuation. So we have bishop takes g4 in desperation. Queen takes f3. Queen d7. So again, you know, knight g5, for example, is on the cards. c6, queen takes, lovely diagonal. Thanks very much. Queen g2. We have queen takes b7, yeah, just in case these pawns are doing something. Bishop e1. And actually, Leela brings in the other rook now that the pawns are dealt with as well, especially the other rook coming to g6, which leads Fire to give up its other bishop in total desperation. So, okay, I know this is cruelty to Fire day today, because in the previous game both the bishops were kind of trapped. Here they just have to give up one after the other to try and stave off a major attack. Okay, cruelty here. On rook d1, just to show rook d1, like check, and here this is just absolutely crushing, as you might expect. So bishop h4, this is just taken. Now here the rook comes back, rook eg6. We have rook c6, total desperation. It's just totally gone, this position. And the game adjudicated here. A nice finish, by the way, I think aesthetically would be not to move the knight, but just play g5. For example, this g4, smash through, and then just play g3. basically the best move would be rook g4, but let's imagine a4, then check, and then mate. So anyway, I'll take you to maybe a more picturesque position that was identified by David Grosvenor. Here, the rook coming in for the kill. The two knights just lurking over the white king. In the absence of that light-squared heroic bishop that damaged white's king over there, everything else seemed to seek revenge. Really wonderful attacking chess. Okay, but fire is pretty solid the more processes and time it's given, so it doesn't usually get destroyed so easily. But it's fun. I find these quite entertaining at the faster time controls. Let me know if you also find them entertaining when it's fast and furious. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks so much.